convince you, everybody doesn't shoot the gun. We have to have people drive a bus, we have to have people type, we have to have doctors, we have to have lawyers. All of them is what makes it, the military the great unit that it is. Pretty good athlete, so I got to play quite a few sports, and I was able to make the basketball team at Great Lakes. So rather than serve a lot of training, I got to play sports. Then they sent me to Bayonne, New Jersey, storekeeper school. So I went to storekeeper school there. Of course, I got to walk the streets of New York and look up at the big buildings, and I'm sure they knew that I wasn't from New York. I must have been from a little town somewhere in the Midwest. So then I got shipped to San Francisco, and now I'm going to be sent overseas. So you have to get all of your shots, 21 shots, because you're going overseas and to all of the different things. So I was aboard ship, and we went to Japan. And aboard ship, we had a pretty good thing. We would let all of the new fellows know that just keep looking for the mail boat. It'll be coming along so you get mail. Well, there's no such thing as a mail boat, but we had a lot of them, believe it. And they'd look all day for the mail boat, but it wouldn't come. So then when I got to Japan, they had lost my records. I had to take 21 shots again. So I went through that. So then I had to check in, and they asked me what I was doing. And I told them, they said, well, with all them sports, I think we better put you in special services. So I got put in special services, and so now, as the ships and different units would come to Japan, they would call on the phone, and I would set up all of the organizations. I would set up a game so they would play against the U.S. Enterprise or different ships. And I had 6 Japanese boys working for me, and I would assign them to the chores, and they would have competition. This ship would be playing that ship, whether it be basketball, baseball, or football. So I was in charge of that, and there I am as an enlisted man, but my athletic officer felt I could do it, so I was able to do it. I spent 3.5 years in Japan, and that was my job, was take care of all of the sporting activities and set it all up. I was very fortunate. I had an open gangway. I could go in and out of the base. I had a car to drive. I've been to every major city in Japan. So I was very fortunate that I had tremendous duty, and it's just like I got to convince you, everybody doesn't shoot the gun. We have to have people drive a bus, we have to have people type, we have to have doctors, we have to have lawyers. All of them is what makes it, the military the great unit that it is because I don't care whether you're driving a bus or whatever it is, everyone's important. The cook, if we don't eat, we ain't gonna do very much. Everybody doesn't get to shoot the gun. So every job that is given to military personnel is important, because that's what makes the whole thing go. And when I got out of the service, they sent me to San Diego, and then I was from San Diego, I was sent home, and so that was my 4 years in the service. I was born and raised in I started out in East Troy. My father was killed when I was 5 years old, and my mother remarried again. And my stepfather, we moved to northern Wisconsin, Wasaukie, which is about 60 miles north of Green Bay, 55 or 60 miles north. And that's where I graduated from high school. Small community of, I would imagine, probably 500 or 600, so it wasn't a very big town. That's where I grew.
How was the basketball team?
We had a very good basketball team. We missed going to the state tournament by one point. That was probably the biggest heartache I had as a kid. I wanted to, you read about Madison. They're our little school. Who ever heard of Wasaukie? And I thought we were going to be able to make her, but we didn't. But I was very fortunate that I was a pretty good athlete, and I love sports. And sports, without the sports, I probably wouldn't have graduated from school. But I had a teacher, and she'd say, either you're going to learn it or you'll never see another basketball, baseball, or football, and she's the one that got me through. She sat me down and made me do it, and greatest lesson there was. And I tell kids, you're going to have to get older. Those years of grade school and high school are going to be some of the greatest times you've ever had. And I know we have parents that get stuff, but that's the way it is. But you'll enjoy it. It's a great life. We would take, and when we'd have liberty, we would go to Milwaukee. And you never bought a drink in Milwaukee. You paid for your food, but any bar you were in, and you had your uniform on, and of course we had to, back then, you had to wear your uniform all the time. Now, when you go on liberty, you don't have to wear your uniform. But back when I was in, we did, and anybody with a uniform on didn't pay for any drinks. Taxis would give you a ride. We hitchhiked. We didn't have, none of us were rich enough to have cars. Some did, but most of us didn't. And we would hitchhike from Great Lakes to Milwaukee. You wouldn't be at the first, second, or third car, you got a ride. There was no problem. They picked up the service. Today, it's entirely different. You don't want to pick, but you don't know about people. But back then, the respect of the military was tremendous. They really respected anybody that joined the service. Playing sports, I'm playing with officers. And my biggest problem was, would they pull rank on me? Never. I was part of the team. I wasn't a little non-commissioned officer playing. I was just a representative of the team. And so I would say the biggest and the funnest thing was playing of sports, which I was very fortunate to be able to do. So I loved every bit of it because I'm doing what I guess the biggest thing I think today, and I think the kids today are tremendous. I know it's tough being a kid because I was one, and my parents weren't very smart. I was smarter than my parents ever were until I was in the service and got out, and then I found out how smart my parents were. And it's being a parent is very difficult. Being a child is very difficult. A parent is trying to raise you, and the child's trying to learn to live his own life, so lots of fun. But always remember this, I don't know of any parents that don't love their children. And when the children respect their parents, the love comes, and then it comes. Everyone that I was close associated with is now gone. I'm 80 years old. So they were actually promoting and all of the guys generally were that age, and they are now gone. They had to, I think there's one still alive. I think he's in Bayonne, New Jersey. I joined the Navy. I got a letter from him about 3 years ago, but I haven't heard from him since. I've tried to call on the phone's been disconnected, so I'm assuming he's gone, but I don't know that for sure. But I think if he was alive, he would have tried to call me again. But they were great. The time in the military taught me how to become a man, how to take care of myself. And my parents, as I told you, I had 4 brothers and 3 sisters, so that's a big family. And they didn't have money to send me anything, and but they taught me how to become a man. I learned how to become a man in the service. Had the respect for my parents because as I look back, without them, I wouldn't have been anything. Well, we're not those were good things. I had 4 brothers. All of us were in the service. When I went into the service, I asked if we could all be put together, and they wouldn't allow it. If you remember the 5 servicemen that were killed in the Navy, and from that point on, they wouldn't allow families to go into service together. So I had 2 brothers in the Navy, but one served over in Italy. The other one was aboard ship, and they discharged to 16 inches, and his eardrums broke, so he got a discharge. The other brother was in the Air Force. He was stationed in the United States, and the other one was in the Army, and he was over in Africa, but he wasn't over there very long, and he came back. So all of us, I think my mother, the hardest thing would be to have all of her sons gone, but very proud in the window. And back then, if you had a serviceman, you had a thing in the window, star in the window, and she had 5 stars, 5 sons in the service. And then I had my half-sister. My mother and stepfather married, and I had a daughter, and she was in the Navy also. So we had the family of 4 brothers and 3 sisters, so that would have been about 9 of us. All were in the service. I think it was a great 4 years experience for me. I got to see a lot of them. I've been to every major city in Japan, which I think is tremendous. I have more time flying than I have aboard ship, so that's something different being in the Navy. And then I just got to do many, many things.